Let me give you a little bit of background about the story of Lazarus. Jesus is hanging out with the Pharisees and the scribes, and they're complaining about the company he keeps. They don't like it that he hangs out with regular people. He should only be with them. They don't like the way he dresses. They don't like the way he talks. They want him to be what they want him to be. They'd like him to be part of their in-group. But he keeps spending time with these people, tax collectors, sinners, the sick, and worst of all, the poor. He's making them look bad. And they badger him to leave them behind, but he doesn't. The badgering keeps up, and finally Jesus says, "Let me tell you a story." And he tells the story about Lazarus and the rich man. If you were wealthy and male, you were automatically considered to be a virtuous person. And so this wealthy man is considered virtuous. And he describes the home of it. He describes how it's got everything that a wealthy person should have, including at the front of the house, there's a bench. And the bench was designed for people to sit, but it was also designed as a place to leave leftover food so that those who were poor could come and get it. And so he suggests that that would be a good place for Lazarus. And the scribes and the Pharisees are really interested in this until Lazarus shows up. Because Lazarus shows up and stays. He doesn't sit on the bench. He literally curls on the ground in front of the bench, and he's in terrible shape. He has sores all over his body. He's really sick. And that's not what the virtuous man wants. He wants somebody that he can feed and not have to deal with. But here's Lazarus. And he doesn't know what to do with him. And Lazarus lays there and literally dies. And Jesus said, "Now what do you think happened to the Pharisees and the scribes?" And he describes the image of these two men, Lazarus and the rich man, up in heaven. And Lazarus is with Father Abraham, and the rich man is in hell. And the rich man wants a drink of water. And this always makes me laugh. In his audacity, he says to Father Abraham, "Go make this man get a drop of water in his hand and let the drop fall into my mouth." And I'm thinking, haven't you learned your lesson yet? But no, he wants that. And God says, "No, that's not." And he said, "This man, Lazarus, look at him. He's what you should be. And you need to think about what this means." So I've wondered about this, and I've wondered about the people that we consider less than. What came to mind to me, first of all, was there was a time when I was working up in the Lake Tahoe area, and I ran a Head Start program there. It was kind of a unique Head Start program because I went to people's homes during the week. And I'd go in their homes and I'd literally sit on the floor and play with their children. And the purpose of this was to get the kids ready for school, to get them ready to start kindergarten. Because most of these kids weren't able to, they started kindergarten already behind the other kids. So it was an opportunity to give them a head start. And we would sit on the floor and I would introduce letters and colors and things like that. But there were a lot of people in the area who really didn't like having this many people in their neighborhood who were poor and who needed Head Start. And they really wanted us to leave because they couldn't comprehend that there was really a large number of people that really needed this program. So it was a battle we fought for a long time. And it was interesting to be in Lake Tahoe and see the hotels and the restaurants and the lake and all the facilities for visitors. And I used to think, who do you think makes these happen? Who serves the people that come to your restaurants? Who makes the food? Who cleans the hotel rooms? Who takes care of the visitors? It's these people. They were mostly Hispanic, and they were mostly shunned by the community. And yet, if they had left, the whole economy would have shut down. Stores would have closed, restaurants would have gone out of business. Nothing would have happened. They literally would work nights up in the ski resorts fixing the lifts to make sure the ski runs were available the next day. And to me, this is where Lazarus comes in. We often have people that we put aside, that we think aren't important, that don't, in our minds, have a role and aren't necessary. But God says we're all necessary, every single one of us. We all play a part in this story. And it made me really look at the people that I don't think are necessary and what that means and what it really takes for me to live the life I get to live and how many people I depend on to make that happen. I invite you to think about that for a minute, because we don't always think about what that means. I watched a documentary the other day about another country and looked at literally the garbage piled up in their streets. And I thought, we are so privileged to have garbage pickup, and it's not something we ever think about. It's all those pieces that come together that make life good for us. It's all those little things that we don't even think about, much less the big things. And oftentimes, the people who do those things are Lazarus in our culture. They're not welcomed. They're not accepted. It's really hard for them to find a place to live. And it's even harder for them to be able to find a better life for their children. So I want to invite you this week to just look around you. Where do you see Lazarus in your life? Where do you see the rich man? Where do you fit in the midst of this? And how do you live in this place? I think it's important to stop and take a look at that. Because as we know from Lazarus, how we live makes a profound difference in the world. Amen.